Shai, we talked about the defensive stops late out there on the floor, but anything that you all were really locked into defensively that was like consistent in the final 3.5 minutes?
Not per se. I would just say it was like winning time, and we knew having a lead, the only way they can get back in is if they score, and if we stop them scoring, we'll win the game at the least. So that's where we hung our hat. That's what we focused on, and that's why we got a dub.
What is it about these Lou threes? They just seem to be such momentum turners sometimes in the course of a game.
Yeah, he's a big shot maker. His confidence never wavers. He steps into every shot like he's made his last 5. And that's why he's become the shooter he's become. He's confident, he works hard, he trusts his work.
You just talk about Chet's night, this activity he had on both ends of the floor, taking it from coast to coast, and everything he did defensively.
Yeah, he was really good. Nothing that we haven't seen before. Like you said, he was active on both ends, really aggressive offensively. He was downhill, playing through contact. His size was a problem. His versatility was a problem. It's a typical Chet Holmgren game.
You ended up winning by 16, but it was kind of a scrappy, physical game for you guys. And how important do you feel like these games are late in the season where you guys haven't had many of these games like that for the whole season?
Yeah, every game is an opportunity to learn and get better. And no matter what it looks like, we try to get those 2 things out of the games, whether it's a win or a loss. And I always say, like, every game's going to look different. Every game's going to present us different challenges. It's how we go about them. And being able to adapt on the fly and come out on the winning side of the challenges is a good habit to create.
I think Chet had 9 total points the last 2 games, and he matched that in the first 7 minutes tonight. Was there just more of an emphasis to get him the ball, get him going, or was it kind of just all within the flow of the offense?
Yeah, all within the flow. He's a really good player, so like him struggling we don't ever worry about, or him having slow nights we don't ever worry about. He'll get back to himself. He works hard. He knows what it takes every night. And some nights you're gonna have bad nights, and that's just what comes with the game. And tonight he did not have a bad night. And yeah, that's what we expect from him, to bounce back like that.
Kaysen was asked what it was like to guard you, and he said that he can't predict what you're going to do because you don't always know what you're going to do, and so he doesn't really have any advice for anybody. Mm-hmm. Can you just talk about like the creativity that you have, like when scoring? You're having one of the best scoring seasons for a guard in the history of the NBA. Just talk about just what it's been like this season, just scoring the basketball.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a ride. I'm just at the end of it having fun playing basketball. I think that's what I point it all to. Like, I'm not out there thinking about scoring or thinking about how I want to score or when I want to score. It's just like I have all these things in my bag, I guess you can say, and I go out there and read and react what the defense is giving me. And I just try to take it and be aggressive and confident with it. And look up at the end every night, and following that formula usually goes well for me. So it's just been fun.
And Dennis Schroeder seemed to be having a pretty animated conversation with you at the end of the game. Would you care to share anything about that?
Nah, it was nothing.
We go to Cliff now?
Yeah.
It's okay. Hit it, Cliff.
Yeah. When teams come at y'all like that, with a little bit of extra energy and a little bit more words to say, like, it seems like I've seen a couple of games where that's happened, and you guys seem to feed off of it a little bit. It actually works for you. Is that something that you guys just kind of take in stride with it, or is that different than other teams? Like the way Detroit brought it specifically, is that different than other teams, and is it something that y'all take in stride?
We know every team has something they hang their hat on, and every team has something that it's part of their identity and helps them win games. And every night they're gonna play against us, come into our building, and try to do so. And whatever that looks like, it's gonna be different for all the other 29 teams in NBA. And our job every night and our goal every night is to counteract that with imposing our will and our, identity on the game. And usually when we do so, we end up in the win column. And that's what it's about. Like, no matter who comes in there or what comes in here. Like, it's about us being ourselves, and that's what we focus on.
Has that picked up with all the wins you guys have as the season's gone along?
Say again, sir?
Has that picked up in terms of teams coming at you? I mean, as you pile up all these wins as a team?
No, I haven't noticed any different. Teams have always tried to do whatever it takes to win, and so do we.
You guys had some pretty good, I guess I call them haymakers the first quarter. You came out really aggressive, but they hung with you. That's kind of surprised you a little bit that they were able to hang and take those shots from you in the first quarter.
Not at all. They're a good team. Their record says so. They've been playing well. They're going to be in the playoffs. Like, with that comes a team that's resilient, a team that takes punches and throws punches. That's usually how your record ends up like that. So we didn't come in here and think that they couldn't play with us. We know that any night in the NBA, you can get beat if you don't play a full 48-minute game. So no, it didn't surprise us at all.
Case in last season, it was more of a play finisher offensively where he'd get most of his points off cuts or just spot ups. This year, it seems like you guys are using it a lot more as a creator and initiator role. Where have you seen the most growth from him just offensively?
Yeah, he's taking crazy strides. Like, his feel for the game, his aggressiveness, his understanding. And he's always had tools, but I think him, like, figuring out, like, when to pick his spots and then just being willing to fail, like being willing to try stuff out there, and at the end of the day, being aggressive. It helps the rest of us because when we're all out there and all five guys are aggressive and all five guys are a threat at all times, it's hard to guard, and you can't guard a certain way or you can't give a guy extra attention as much as you like because of that. And yeah, Queso's helped with that for sure this year.
Just right.
Shai, listen to a recent podcast, Gil's Arena, with your dad talking about influences or players that had influences on you growing up, and Allen Iverson was a big part of that. I'm curious, how did that come together? Were you watching highlights of his game? Did you watch full games? Like, how did that come together in the sense of him having such a profound influence on your game growing up?
My dad was a big fan, so his games were always on TV. When he came to Toronto, we always went. And honestly, I think, like, in that era, every kid's favorite player was Allen Iverson. How he played the game, his swag on and off the court. I'm not the only kid that loved AI. But yeah, definitely influential.
3:30 to go. What were some of the key emphasis points in terms of defense? You go on a 12-0 run to close the game coming out of that timeout.
Talking about the fourth quarter?
Mm-hmm.
I think we were just worried about stops. We don't have too much going into that timeout. We've been in kind of that position a lot this year. So just buckling down defensively, getting stops. Those are usually times where you really key into the game plan and try not to give them any free looks, especially like a team that's like still in like an area where they can win the game. You don't want to give them free, momentum buckets, and that's what we tried to avoid.
And then kind of opposite side of the game, Chet, first 7 minutes, you seem to really set a tone on both ends of the floor. How did you feel like you were able to impact the game there with your activity and just timing and everything?
Just trying to come out of the gates with some pace. We're at game 70-something in the season. Not for me, but for a lot of these guys. So just try and, kind of set the tone out the gates that, we got to really get up and down the floor and keep that pace. It's worked for us all season, so we had to keep it going.
Chet, Mark and Shai talked about how you were aggressive, but all within the system and not trying to do anything outside of the system. What goes into making it seem like everything is intentional, but making sure it's all within the system?
Just letting the game tell me what to do. The game usually favors the aggressor in terms of plays, calls. You can't make a shot without shooting it, but you can miss a shot, so don't shoot bad ones. And the game tells you good shot, bad shot, good attack, bad attack. And usually when somebody's open, then to make a play. And usually when you've attacked and you weren't able to get an advantage, then it's time to kind of churn things and give the defense a chance to mess up.
You barred up.
No.
Who else we got? You go Myron and then Andrew.
Sometimes, Chet, you get matched up, like you got matched up with Asar out on the floor. You like that? And not just this game, just sometimes I know you get matched up.
I like
Small
whatever
guys.
coach tells me to do to try and win the game.
I'm all for it. It's that simple.
Chet, what's the adjustment been like for you? Obviously, coming back physically, but then playing like the double big lineup quite a bit since you've been back. Like, what's that adjustment been like?
I mean, it's up and down. It's not perfect, but I don't think anything on the floor ever is. I think we've made great strides in different areas. We've seen how certain things look good and bad, and work to improve the bad things, and then continue to try and find the good things more. And it's not only been for me and Hart out there figuring that out, but also whatever other three players are out there. And I feel like we've done a really good job of sticking at it. And we've had a lot of really good moments and runs, and I think that's going to be a weapon for us going forward.
Martin?
Chet, recently it's become more of a topic of conversation just with Defensive Player of the Year and award season around the corner.
Lou Dort.
Yes, sir.
Lou Dort.
And I just want to ask you, from your perspective as a big man, because we've talked to a lot of guards and wings, but just your perspective as a big, watching a guy out there on the perimeter, how impressive is that?
I mean, it's extremely impressive, and a lot of times bigs get credit for cleaning up guards' mistakes, but a lot of times what we see with Lou, especially when you're playing coverage and you're in actions, there is no action and you're not in coverage because he's blowing up all the actions. He's getting through. He's playing one-on-one out there. He's basically playing one-on-two and still staying in front of somebody, which is extremely impressive with how good the level of talent is in the NBA. And we've been seeing it all year. And it makes our job easier because, then we're kind of just standing back there watching him do his thing. And he does that all night on a lot of nights against the best players. And, it's kind of ridiculous that he hasn't gotten the recognition that he deserves for it. And I think this year is definitely the year that he should.
You mentioned Lou's defense, but on a night where you guys didn't shoot too great as a team from deep, he makes 4 threes for y'all. Just can you kind of speak to this ability he has to whatever you guys need on any given night, he's able to step up?
Big game Lou. He sees the letters ESPN somewhere, and he decides to turn it on. So that's Lou.
Mark, 3:30 to go. It's a 4-point game, and you close on a 12-0 run. What did you feel from your team there late in terms of just executing on both ends?
Yeah, got some stops, and then a good execution down the stretch in that part of the game when things stall, and you got to just execute in the half court in that area of the game and hold a lead, not turn it over. I thought for the most part we were really good there.
How about the start that Chet got you off to, just the defensive activity? I think the first 7 minutes he had like 2 blocks and 2 steals.
Yeah, I mean, he was really good to start. I mean, we've played a lot of the 4, him at the 4, for a couple different reasons. We've really overloaded that, but, certainly him at the 5 is an option for us that we want to keep live. And, we did that in Boston. We've done it in parts of the game since then, and we started with it again tonight. And, every time we go back to it, it seems to be very sharp. So we think we know what we have with that. We'll continue to develop the other lineups and the other looks, but it's obviously very effective when we move him there.
Had multiple guys with multiple steals and or blocks. Would you just talk about the activity that you guys showed on the defensive end from the start?
Yeah, pretty good defensive night. I thought for the most part, they hurt us on the glass at different times. Hardaway got going in the first half, obviously, but I thought for the most part it was a pretty strong defensive night, especially in the second half. I think we held them to under 50 points in the second half. So, obviously good things there, good things on offense. It was a good game for us. Good look.
You go Myron and then Andrew.
It's kind of one of those games you guys led, but they kind of kept hanging around. I mean, is that the kind of game that can help maybe playoffs? Because you never really ran away from it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's as scrappy and as relentless of a team as there is. I mean, they're playing at an unbelievable baseline in terms of effort. Even with the start we got off to, I mean, they stabilized the game, and the first half did so again in the fourth. But they've done this all year. They've played, like I said, to a very high bar in terms of their effort, defense, physicality, competitiveness. That's why they're in the position that they are in the East.
Anything different in the second half? I mean, Hardaway had 21 at half, only 2 in the second half.
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything, a little bit of transition, a little bit of second chance, and I just thought we tightened the screws in all facets of the game on the defensive end. Our defense, I thought, was better in the second half than it was in the first, and we got him in check. I mean, he's obviously a really good shooter. He's capable of huge nights.
Hey, we go to Andrew Myron, please.
Chet seemed to really have it going off the drive tonight. Where have you seen progress in his game there?
I think everything plays off his jump shot. I think even the drives tonight they came usually off of him looking at the rim or shot faking and being a threat to shoot. So I think everything stems from that. I mean, he's a dynamic 3-point shooter, and when he tees it up, looks at the basket, has his shoulders squared, defenses have to make a decision, and he's obviously a potent shooter, so they're going to close hard to him, and that opens up the rest of his game. So I thought he had a good balance tonight. He found good threes, even though it wasn't his best shooting night, but I thought that opened up some of the driving in the rest of his game.
I don't know if you have any commentary on the shoes you're wearing tonight.
Yeah, I
You did
pregame. Yeah,
Okay.
Autism Awareness or Acceptance Month. And all 30 head coaches this week will be wearing those shoes to bring awareness to autism. Everybody's different. 1 in 37 children is diagnosed with autism. People with autism experience the world in different ways, and all the head coaches are wearing those shoes to promote kindness and inclusion and support.
You guys didn't shoot the 3-ball well tonight, but Lou went 4 from 9 from deep. Can you kind of just speak to the value of a guy like that, where it seems like he has a knack for whatever you guys need on any given night, he's able to step up?
Yeah, I mean, and his defense. I thought his defense was really good at different parts of the game. We moved him around a lot tonight. If Cunningham had played, he would have taken that assignment, more primarily. But we had him on Schroeder, we had him on Hardaway, we had him on Harris at different times. So did a great job on that end. And then offensively, I mean, he continues to just hit big shots, step into every shot with confidence. Made a couple big ones late there, and continues to play a great, stable role for us on that end of the floor.
You guys are seemingly playing some of the best basketball this season that you guys have had, but you're looking at the win-loss record, 64 wins. The other night you mentioned that we're still trying to get better. I just wanted to ask, what are sort of the points of emphasis, or where do you feel like you guys can still improve?
I mean, a lot of it's just fundamentals, that are relevant every single night in the NBA, including in the postseason, and keeping those sharp and top of mind is critical. And then as we face different opponents, we see different styles. We saw, 3 of the fastest transition offense teams in the league leading into this game, and then tonight a very physical, high-pressure team defensively that really forces you to play with a lot of force. And Houston is similar, so combination of our fundamentals and then what our opponents will throw at us. And we've played quality opponents for a stretch now and have quality opponents coming up. Everybody has something to play for. And so it's good. It sharpens our blade. It tests us, forces us to rise to a certain level if we want to win.
And then post All-Star break, you mentioned just experimenting with the lineups and just trying to see more and more data of what's there. Is that still an ongoing thing with a handful of games left, or do you feel like you've sort of seen the pictures and gotten a sample size of what you wanted?
It's ongoing. I mean, we've done it for 5 years, not just since All-Star break. We did it pre-All-Star break. I mean, the team's constantly changing. We got young players, and we constantly want to understand what we have. It's always educated guesses. We're not just reckless with it. We're doing things that we think can work either now or in the future, or both. But yeah, I mean, we're going to continue to be aggressive in understanding what we have. It's benefited us to this point, and we want to have as many tools in the toolbox going into the postseason as we can have.
Ended up winning by 16, but this was a very scrappy, physical, tough game for you guys. How important is it to have those games down the stretch? You guys haven't had many of these types of games, but going into the playoffs, how important is it for you guys to just get those types of experiences?
Yeah, I mean, we take whatever experiences are dealt to us and try to play them as best we can. I mean, if you're playing with a large lead, there's benefits from that too, just in terms of staying focused, not playing the scoreboard, working on our habits. I mean, it takes mental toughness to play with a lead. It takes mental toughness to play with a deficit. And then in the close games, it comes down to execution. And I thought we executed really well down the stretch tonight on both ends of the floor.
Coach, there was a lot of chatter there at the end of the game with Dennis. You care to share what he was talking about?
we love Dennis and have nothing but respect for him and Detroit. I mean, that's a really quality team that's really punched all season. They play on an empty stomach, and we have a lot of respect for them. So he took issue with us going and trying to score on the last possession. We meant no disrespect. We love him.